So, solo traveling is freeing and empowering, but it also has many risks that many people do not discuss. Now, I'm going to briefly share with you a personal story that I recently experienced where I felt taken advantage of, used, and I felt like my safety was on the line. Now, I booked an Airbnb, an apartment basically, in an apartment building. And the day I moved into the apartment, I always ask the host if I can just drop off my luggage, even though check-in is at a later time. Most of the time they do say yes. So when I got there, the cleaners were there, and luckily the host's spouse was also present. So while I was there, we were literally, they were in the apartment and I was standing outside of the door. And as I was speaking with them, because, the apartment door was open, they were doing, prepping the apartment for me. Then right across from my apartment, there's a man entering his, no, excuse me, he actually was exiting his home. So he says hello, he puts his, minding his own business, and then he just walks away. He says hi, we say hi, and that's it. So fast forward, I check in Monday, it's Wednesday. That same man that is living across from me starts knocking on my door. And unfortunately, in the Airbnb, in that apartment building itself, there's no like like a pee hole where you can see through the door like who is knocking or anything like that. So you don't, it's just a door. So you don't know who's behind that door at all. And there's no window for you to see on your end. So I'm just like, so he's speaking, he was saying something almost if he was mumbling. So number one, I'm by myself. Number two, I'm not opening that door. Why are you even knocking? Like, what is there to discuss? That's number one. I'm not too paranoid, but it's like, what? It was just odd. So he proceeds to say that there's going to be people coming over his apartment that's going to make some banging. And unfortunately, I might hear it on my end. So I said, okay, thank you so much for the heads up. I appreciate it. And then he leaves. This is Wednesday, day 3 of this apartment that I'm in. Comes back again, knocks on my door. I can't hear him. So he's like, hey, I'm sorry. This is my name, such and such. I won't mention it. Ugh, I don't want to think about it. And then he says, I live across from here. How are you? And I said, I'm fine. I'm just visiting. I have a couple of friends and family here, here in South Africa. So I'm just, visiting and just taking a break and so forth. And then he said, okay, so what do you do? So this is where he starts to create small talk with me. So at that point, I'm like, all right, I don't know what makes you think I'm in the mood. I was really tired, I was doing a lot of things. So, we just started chatting for almost about an hour from that point. He talks about his life, being born and raised in the country where his parents are from, what he went to school for. It was a pretty nice, introduction as you're getting to know someone. You understand? So we talked for a while. He asked for my contact details. I just gave him my WhatsApp number. And this is what I want to share with you. Because I don't know this man, I don't think I will ever see him again in my life. And we will never have any form of relationship ever again. I don't give out my personal phone number. This is what I love about WhatsApp. There's WhatsApp personal and there's WhatsApp for business. So whenever I travel and people want to exchange contact details with me, and if I don't know them, this is just how I am. And I think maybe you should do the same. This is just advice. You don't have to take it, but just look into it. Both apps have different numbers. So WhatsApp has my personal number, friends and family. WhatsApp for business is just for business purposes. You don't need to have my real contact details because who knows what you're going to do with that information. Like people are really like tech savvy hackers. I don't know what they're capable of. So I always give out the number that I'm never on. I travel with about 3 different numbers most of the time. So I always give out my travel number, and I gave that to him. So we spoke, it was good. I was exhausted after speaking to him because he just kept going on and on and on, And then the following day was Thursday. So after our discussion on Wednesday, right? I did share with him that I did like the area, but I was planning on moving to a different area because I just want to, I just have a different, I didn't like it too much, it was just not my thing. So then he said, he started asking me, oh, where? I didn't give him the right location. I gave him a location completely far from where I was initially staying. Why? Because I do not know him. So when I showed him those details, he was like, oh, yeah, he was just giving me like tips and saying, oh, yeah, that area is good. It's close by, whatever. And then Thursday comes, he knocks on my door again. And I knew he was knocking. I was sitting on the patio at that time, but I didn't answer. I was doing work. I was focused, just, doing some things online. And then he proceeds to call me 3 times on WhatsApp. So I see the missed call. I take my time to respond. So I called back. He didn't pick up. And then I sent him a text message like, hey, like, what's up? What do you need? Then he's like, oh, I need some help with something if you don't mind. Help? So for me, I'm a nice girl. I'm kind. I always go by my intuition first. So when he's saying he needs help, I'm like, okay, what kind of help do you need? He doesn't answer me. He won't put it in writing, but he comes back and starts knocking on my door again. So when he knocks, I'm like, I don't like this. Immediately, something tells me no. So I don't answer. So then I sent another message and I said, what's going on? Just put it in a message. And then 20 minutes later, he knocks again. So at that point, I'm like, all right, I don't know what he wants. I hope it's nothing inappropriate, illegal, or anything of that matter. So I open the door. I talk to him. He looks, as soon as I open the door, he's looking the opposite way. He turns around and tells me, hey, I'm having some issues with my Wi-Fi. You think I can use yours? So number one, I'm in an Airbnb. He knows I'm in an Airbnb. Why? Because he lives in that apartment building. So when we were talking on Wednesday, he mentioned that he sees multiple people in and out all the time in that apartment. He sees the cleaner, he knows the woman who owns it. So I tell him, absolutely not. This is not my home. And you know that. So why would you ask me to give you that? He said, yeah, but I think something happened with the workers. And I said, well, you have a car. If you need Wi-Fi, there's cafes all over. You can go anywhere. Go to a friend's place. I mean, you're from here. You can find a solution to your problem, but I can't help you. So then, he gets closer to me. He steps forward, to maybe insert dominance or maybe to threaten me. I don't know what the case may be, but he's a man, I'm a woman, and he knows that I'm staying there alone. So when he does that, he proceeds to say, I just need some help. I have to work. He gets a bit defensive, but then he simmers down his tone and becomes more polite again. He's like, I just have some other things I have to get work, I have to submit, and, it's time sensitive. And I'm saying to myself, all right, you have a job, you work full time from home. I just don't understand how you can have Wi-Fi issues after the construction, whatever they did in your apartment. I just didn't know. And I'm just saying to myself, I don't want this man talking to me any longer. So I said, all right, I'll let you use it. So he was like, okay, what's the Wi-Fi username? He was so, adamant and excited at that point. And I said, oh, I just had a weird feeling that my intuition, my stomach started to twist. That weird feeling you get. So then I said to myself, oh, this is not a good idea. I gave him the password. I wanted him out of my face, and I didn't want things to escalate from there. So I did it just for my own sake, my own peace of mind. Once I did that, I knew I did a bad thing. And the following day, this was Thursday, Friday hits, I send a long message to the host of the Airbnb, so the owner of the apartment, and I told her everything that happened, how it started, how it ended, and I just apologized to her because I had no business doing that. But at the end of the day, I did share with her he was really getting on my nerves and he wouldn't stop. He just kept knocking on that door. Didn't want to send any messages. He just kept knocking and knocking on that door. So, she said what she said. She's going to handle the situation, alter all of the, credentials in order to access it, and that was it. The day I checked out, I didn't see him. I tried my best to avoid him. So if I heard any doors, if his door was opening or closing, I didn't hear anything the day I had to leave. And he knew the day I was leaving because we had that discussion on Wednesday. And I know it doesn't sound like an extreme, dangerous scenario, but to me, as someone who's traveled for over 2 years, full time, on her own, things like that really makes me look and understand people more, because I had no idea he had a motive behind him just, so interested in getting to know me and having a conversation with me. The whole time he had an agenda. I didn't know that because I'm just, once again, just being a nice person, just hearing him out, being kind. But sometimes, never ignore that intuition. There's people out there that will try anything. And I think they do this, especially if you're a foreigner. You could be someone from maybe Puerto Rico or the US, and you meet and you're in Hungary, for example, right? And people, I had never been to Hungary. I'm just speaking hypothetically. You're in Hungary, and the local, you meet somebody there and they know you're a foreigner. And because they know that, they may try things to get something out of you or to harm you. I've experienced this a lot, in different countries. I can create multiple videos about each experience, trust me, and I'm definitely going to get into that because I think it's important for me to share that. But I just want to say, no matter where you are in the world, because it can happen anywhere. It can happen anywhere in the world, no matter how safe it is, how happy the country is. You never know, because there's bad people out there, Even though he didn't harm me, but I had a bad feeling. I knew I didn't want to interact with him anymore. I didn't know what he was capable of. I don't know this man. But he just kept pushing and pushing until he got his way, and he did. So I'm just making this video for people to be aware of your surroundings. Always be mindful about what you share with people, and always be mindful about, who's around you, because you just never know. And sometimes if you don't want to talk, don't talk. Or if they say hi and they want to create small chat, pretend that you got to go. Or just, if you're like me, sometimes I'm not interested, or ignore. Just, tunnel vision, keep walking. That's it. It's important for you to really be mindful and just keep your safety as the priority at all times. I felt like a fool because I failed. As someone who's so experienced with traveling, I get burnt out sometimes. And when I'm burnt out, I'm exhausted. I'm in a foreign country trying to relax. And sometimes there's always someone somewhere. If they see you in a certain area over and over again, they're watching. And they can see you by yourself every day, or they just study you. There's always somebody standing somewhere or anywhere in the neighborhood or in the city watching you. It's pretty sad, but unfortunately, this is the type of world that we live in. Not all people, not all people are good people. And I say this to always follow your intuition, always be mindful about what you share, always be mindful of your surroundings, and make sure you stay safe and keep all of your personal items with you, and stick to your guns no matter what. If you say no the first time, then it's a no. Don't have anyone pressure you into making any decision that you don't want to do. You understand? Because after I experienced that, I said, okay, I think it's about time for me to just start sharing these crazy scenarios that I encounter. This is just one story that I've dealt with where I felt like I felt a bit like I was in danger or something. I felt my safety was on the line. When you tell someone no, and then they proceed to take a few steps forward in order to insert dominance and authority against you. Always stick to your guns. If you need to purchase a few things to protect yourself, like no weapons or anything, then do that. But I really hope this video helps. I'll be more than happy to get into more detail and share other dangerous scenarios that I've dealt with. This video is not intended to project any fear on you, but to be mindful. Follow your intuition. If your instincts is saying something is off, more there's 199.99% chance it's off. I hope this helps. Please leave any comments and like this video if you want, if you have anything else to add. And I really hope you found this helpful and useful, because it's a big world we live in, and there's gonna be people out there, and life will test you all the time. Cheers for now.